All right, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to the Joy Reid Show. Big ups to everybody in the chats. We see you out here. Uh-oh, why is that talking? Yeah, stop. Oh, my computer decided to make extra noises. But still, big up to everyone in the chats. We appreciate everybody. Thank you all for watching. We can see all the early birdies, including the Lemonheads from Michigan. Please shout out where you're from. North Carolina also in the house. We've got hello, beautiful people from Natty C. We appreciate that. And we say, yes, hit the like button and hit the like button for Joy for Democracy. We appreciate that. Yes, for democracy. We want y'all to do that. Welcome to the Joy Reid Show. Definitely keep shouting out where you're watching from. I want to let you all know that even as we speak right now, the Webby Awards are happening. Yes, Jason, can we get a round of applause? The Webby Awards, where we are an awardee. The Webby Awards are taking place right now in New York City. Now, clearly we're not there because we're here with you, but I want to congratulate the whole gang. Jason, Winnie, Wanji, Adrian, Sean, Ron, Nitha, Cameron, Miles, Angela, the whole TJRS crew for the win. The speech that we asked you, our wonderful readers, to help us write and that you voted on, yes, Nitha's speech won the day, but each of you had great ideas, will be part of the compiled speech. They're going to compile all the speeches. Just want to really quickly remind you what our speech says. Here it is. I am still here, bitches. I'm still here, bitches. That's our speech on tonight. So that's going to be compiled with all the other videos. So congrats to everybody who helped us build this small but mighty TJRS ship. It is speeding along to victory. We are well on our way to 500,000 subscribers on the YouTubes, 225,000 on Substack. We are growing like crazy on Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, all the social media platforms, as well as on audio podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify. Everywhere we are growing. Be sure, as the chats have said, do hit that like and share button. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Don't be a lurker. No one likes a lurker.
Leave a comment while you're at it.
Please leave a comment. The more engagement, the better. We want everyone to hit that thumbs up. Do that just because you like us, just because we're friendly and fun. Do that. But also, please comment, engage with us, because we want to hear what you have to say. You guys are hearing what I have to say and what Jason has to say, but we want to hear what you have to say too. Quick announcements. The church announcements will begin now. For those of you who are in the overflow, it is because you have a loud screaming child. That is on your parenting, not on this pastorate. Here's some quick church announcements. Testimonies will be later in the show. If you guys want to attend the Joy Reid Show live on June 11th, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is going to be great. It's going to be hilarious. Godfrey is absolutely hilarious. We're going to have a good time. We've got more surprises. It's going to be really, really fun. The bad news is we're basically fresh out of tickets. It's almost sold out. There's very few tickets left. But if you want to get some of the small, tiny number of ticket seats that are left, try to have your face in the place. There's a meet and greet option for those of you who want to meet me and see me in person. Please do that. Somebody said I'm shy. But look, don't be shy. We love all of you guys. So if you did want to go, please let us know. Did you guys know, by the way, Jason, did you know that the guy who runs our Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who was on The Real World Boston, has a reality show?
Yeah, he does.
Dude has a reality show, okay? And the sponsors for the show, he drives with, he has like 9 kids with his wife, who he met on The Real World Boston. So rather than like be embarrassed that he's from the real world and he's running the Department of Transportation, meaning all the airlines and the trains and everything, he's in charge of it. He's leaning into it, did his own reality show, spent 7 months while he was supposed to be making planes not crash, filming the reality show on the road while gas is going up into like $5 a gallon. He's out there telling people, no, gas is actually affordable, while he's spending corporate dollars to go on the road and do a reality show.
I wonder if he has any sponsors, like, airline sponsors.
But he does, Jason.
Hotel. Oh, he has hotel sponsors.
Oh, yes, he does. Airline sponsors, American Airlines, and a bunch of other transportation companies that just happen, drumroll, to be regulated by the Department of Transportation.
Isn't that interesting? The whole thing is a grift.
It's a grift. We're going to talk more about this today. Not just this particular story, but the grift is everything. This entire scam of an administration. Everybody's grifting. This dude he got himself a reality show while he's supposed to be doing his job. Absolutely insane. Let's thank one of our credible sponsors, because we have sponsors too, but we're not like in charge of the government. Our sponsors are helping keep independent media alive so that you guys don't have to hear lies about Israel and pretend like Israel's the most peaceful country on earth. We're just trying to give you the real news, baby. Anyway, let's thank one of our incredible sponsors. I want you guys to ask yourself these 5 questions to see if it is time to switch jobs. Number one, am I growing or just repeating the same experience over and over? Do I feel energized by my work, or am I constantly drained and counting the hours till it's over? Am I learning skills that will be valuable 3 to 5 years from today? Do I know what my next career move should be? Or am I just hoping something better shows up? And if I stay here another year, will I be proud of my progress or regret staying comfortable? Now, if those questions made you realize that it might be time for a change, you should talk to a career coach. And you should do that through strawberry.me. Their coaches work with you one-on-one to understand your strengths, identify your gaps, and build a clear roadmap toward a career that you'll actually be excited about. Because the biggest risk isn't making the wrong move, it is staying stuck without a plan. Take control of your future at strawberry.me/joy today and get 50% off your first coaching session. That is strawberry.me/joy. Really important to have a good career, because you can't count on getting hired by this regime and them letting you do a reality show. Okay, that's just for Sean Duffy. Okay, 2 things that we need to face as a country, all right, as we start off on this TJRS Monday. Number one, we have to face that the Voting Rights Act is dead. Now, I don't care if it is still in the books, it is a zombie. John Crow Roberts, his designated hitman, Sam the Scam Alito, killed it, okay? And Uncle Clarence said that we should even, kill the zombie ghost. He's like, kill the ghost. The corpse is not nearly dead enough. But just know the Voting Rights Act is DEAD dead. And so the old school Southern governors are out and proud, doing their best Dixiecrat cosplay. They are acting like it is Halloween, and they are all dressed up as Orville Faubus. They're like, each of us can be an old Alabama governor from the 1950s. Each of them is they're doing their best to cosplay as that era of governor, all of them. Deleting congressional districts like they are resetting a broken laptop, even literally in the middle of elections. I just want to show you guys the primary calendar just in May. You know, this the blue are where there are primaries, just in May alone. Nebraska, North Carolina, and West Virginia have state and federal primaries tomorrow. Louisiana state primary is scheduled for this coming Saturday, and Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Idaho, Oregon, and Pennsylvania all have primaries next Tuesday. The Texas runoff is May 26th, followed by California, Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota on June 2nd. Now, half of those states are going to get to have elections where everybody can participate. The ones in the South, the ones in the South are going to take place without the Voting Rights Act, because not only did the Supreme Court, Sam the Scam Alito, along with his boss man, John Roberts, John Crow, we call it, John Crow killed the Voting Rights Act. And then immediately the old time Southern Dixiecrat governors immediately jumped on and said, good, let's change our maps even in the middle of elections. Literally, Louisiana was already voting in their early vote process when their governor literally tossed out the federal primary election, tossed it out. So here's Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana. He literally, you could pluck him out of the 1950s. He was on 60 Minutes this weekend explaining himself, old Dixiecrat style. Here he is.
Declared a state of emergency. What exactly is the emergency?
We've got the highest court of the land says the map that you have is unconstitutional, so we don't have a map under which our voters can vote on.
This country has held elections during the Civil War, during 2 world wars. Elections still went on.
We're gonna have an election, and we're actually gonna have an election on election day.
But voting was already happening. As we sit here right now, more than 45,000 ballots have been returned. What happens to those?
Oh, those ballots are discarded, and those voters will vote again in November.
You say that like it's not a big deal.
Well, it's not a big deal. It's not my fault. If anybody has a grievance, take it to the United States Supreme Court.
Well, ma'am, I have to tell you that the Supreme Court said that Mr. Plessy is not a citizen, and therefore I do not owe him the respect. The white man need not respect any of the black man's rights, because I tell you, the Supreme Court said that Mr. Plessy is not a citizen, ma'am. Segregation now, segregation forever. Do you know that man wants to be president? I just want to let y'all know that man wants to be president of the United States, but only the white part. Jeff Landry, everybody. And Alabama's 300-year-old governor, Kay Ivey, she said, excuse me, sir, hold my beer.
Alabama Republicans have just filed an emergency request with the U.S. Supreme Court, asking the justices to lift a lower court ruling that stands in the way of their redistricting plans. Now, if Republicans succeed in all the proposals currently underway and the new maps pass legal muster, they could actually stand to net anywhere from 4 to 13 new seats before the midterms, Brett.
That's significant. And
Now, what you should not think at any moment as you watch this whole thing play out is that Black voters in the South, where 52% of Black voters live, 52% of Black people still live in the South. If you think they're just going to take it laying down when people like Landry and KIV, who wants to be president, and Ron DeSantis and Lee, Governor Lee, all of these people, Robert E. Lee, good, might as well be. If you think that Black folks are just laying down for this, you just don't know Black people. Okay? They are not co-signing the idea of every single African-American south of the Mason-Dixon line being solely represented, not just in the House of Representatives, but in their state house and Senate only by right-wing MAGA conservatives. Think about that. Think about that. That is the goal, to have every Black person south of the Mason-Dixon line only have representation by MAGA conservatives, mainly white MAGA conservatives. That's it. You would not have the opportunity to elect your own person that represents you. Every single Black person south of the Mason-Dixon line will be represented by a white conservative from the school board all the way to the governor's mansion if they get their way. That's the plan. But the response from more than 60 national and local civil rights and voter mobilization groups is summed up, I think, pretty succinctly in this Instagram clip that was posted by Black Voters Matter Fund. Take a look.
Is enough. I have had it with these mother snakes on this mother plane. Everybody strap in. I'm about to open some windows.
I'm just telling you, Samuel L. Jackson speaks for all Black Americans. He is all of us, because that's the response. It's a hell's no. Not going to do it. There is going to be a march and collective action taking place in Montgomery, Alabama this Saturday. Now, the action is all day, but the main march will be from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yes, we will be live streaming it on this channel, along with lots of your other favorite channels. We're going to be live streaming this thing simultaneously. You need to get involved. It's on. The stakes are high, and the South still matters. Let's just look at some of the stakes here. The critical battleground states, you can see them there for both congressional and state house and state senate districts. We are talking about Tennessee, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Florida, South Carolina, and North Carolina. And North Carolina is on the list, even though they do have a mixed government with Democrats in it, is because Democrats are trying to not get stuck in a veto-proof minority, and in a minority that can't override a veto if they need to. And so that's why North Carolina's on the list. These are the critical states. But you can see on this chart the number of congressional seats that African-American members of Congress, the CBC plan, stands to lose. Let's look at this other map, from where Black power is most at risk of being deleted. And you can see that that map looks a whole lot like the map of the old Confederacy. That is non-coincidental, that the map of where Black Americans stand to lose the most power is literally an identical map to the map that we were used to seeing of the old Confederate States of America, because it's basically the same map. They are attempting to effectively lock African-American voters in to a situation where the decision of what books you can read, what books can be assigned in your schools, what your school history textbooks look like, whether you get garbage picked up in your community, whether you have the same kind of sanitation services as an affluent or white community, where those decisions, the decisions based on whether your kids can get reduced price school lunch if your family is struggling financially, everything from school board to Congress and everything in between, you would have your only choice, because they would sink African Americans so much into the minority in every district, surround them with rural voters who they can count on to vote Republican, and meaning that no matter how much you vote, you go at 100% turnout, you would never be able to elect a person of your choice. You would always be stuck with whoever the MAGA Republican majority in your district wants, because now your district would be shared not just by fellow African Americans or fellow Latinos or people of color or people who are of your single mindset, which is the way it is now. At least in the South, you can get one black representative, or even a white representative that actually cares about non-white people. Right now, you can have that. But with the way they want is you can't have that. every African American would be sunk in a district at which they are no more than 20% of the population, meaning they would never win. The website, if you would like to get in on this major protest that is going to be happening in Montgomery, Alabama, is allroads, what is it? All roads lead to the south.com. All roads lead to the south.com. Sorry about that. All roads lead to the south.com. That is where you can sign up if you want to be a part of what's happening in Montgomery. There are buses going to Montgomery from all over the South and all over the Mid-South and all over the East. There are buses going to that state, to Montgomery, Alabama, this Saturday. We're talking about 19 congressional seats, 191 state legislative seats across the South. 30% of the Congressional Black Caucus will be wiped off the map under these Alito maps. That is why we call it John Crow. This was not created by Donald Trump. Donald Trump ordered it, but it was like he ordered a pizza and the Supreme Court delivered. It was like he ordered up a pizza, but this didn't start with him. This started with John Roberts in the 80s, and John Roberts finished the job, and his hitman is Sam the Scam Alito. They want to keep grifting, and a lot of members of Congress want to keep grifting. I'm going to get into some of them shortly. A lot of these people are getting rich off of this, and their easy peasy, constant sort of scheme to get over on this is to keep white conservatives looking at the shiny keys of non-white immigrants are taking your jobs, and blacks are lazy and blacks are bad, and they just keep them so they keep voting for their own economic destruction. And soon, if you're black, you won't even be able to get potholes filled in your community because you won't be able to vote for anyone of your choice. Everybody, if there's going to be an AI data center in your community that's going to poison your water, foul your air, you won't even be able to vote no because there won't be enough of you because they're going to sink you in a district surrounded by white MAGA Republicans, rural Republicans who even when they lose their farms still vote for Republicans. They vote for Republicans no matter what. It could be a devil. Literally, my name is Satan be devil. They're going to vote for him because they just vote culturally Republican. And they're saying, no, we're going to carve up the blacks, put like 20% of y'all in a district with like 80% MAGA Republicans. Good luck. That's the plan. That is what gerrymandering is. Remember the Franklin table? That's what it is, okay? So the second thing that we have to focus on and face, in addition to that, which is bad enough, is that we may be on the brink of another pandemic. Yes, check out this headline. 2 cruise passengers, what they're calling the rat virus, this is the Hantavirus, evacuated off of that ship, which I don't know why they let anybody off that ship. God bless those people. I know 3 people died. They should have quarantined them on that ship. But they said, we're going to let everybody go on home. And we'll figure it out later. These people got off in Tenerife. There are more cases feared. There's cases in France, and there are lots of cases in the United States. Let's put a little map. This is A7J. This is the map of where we've now known that the Hantavirus pathogen has at least touched 6 states, including New Jersey, Texas, California, and Georgia. And this is places where people have been in contact with or people that were on that cruise ship or have been somewhere in physical contact with them. So if you're not scared enough already about that, please note that Miles Taylor, who served in the Homeland Security Department in the first Trump regime, but resigned and sounded the alarm as an anonymous whistleblower. Remember, he did the New York Times anonymous story saying, hey, this guy's dangerous during the first Trump administration. He wrote this on his Substack, in which he talks about the World Health Organization Director General insisting that Hantavirus is not the new COVID, but that the fear that it is not irrational. Here's the quote. When COVID arrived, the United States had a sophisticated planning system for confronting pandemics. Homeland Security Presidential Directive 5, issued after 9/11 and refined after Hurricane Katrina, designated the Secretary of Homeland Security as the principal federal official for domestic incident management and laid out a vast nationwide response network to manage such situations. FEMA was supposed to be the lead agency underneath the DHS secretary, with the Department of Health and Human Services leading the public health response. Decades of planning, exercises, and statutory authority sat behind this plan. Then Trump threw it all out. He stood up a hastily assembled White House task force, made the HHS secretary chair of it, then handed it to the vice president, then handed shadow control to his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, the DHS secretary at the time, an acting secretary who I used to work with, this is Miles Taylor writing, named Chad Wolf, seemed to shy away from leading the effort, while FEMA waited on the sidelines. Subsequent congressional investigations found that the result was chaos and structural collapse as agencies scrambled to reinvent pandemic response on the fly. I remember the phone calls at the time. My friend Olivia Troye, who was helping Vice President Mike Pence run the task force from the inside, would call with a tone of contained terror. It's so broken, Miles. You have no idea. He's getting people killed. She quit eventually and said it publicly because the alternative was staying silent while the body count climbed. Trump aides partly blamed her for the president's 2020 loss because her accusations were so damning amidst the crisis. Nothing has changed, at least not with the interagency structure. It's still broken. Trump would still likely put together an ad hoc, freewheeling, personality-driven task force to handle the response, only next time Trump will be doing it inside an echo chamber. And the aforementioned Olivia Troye joins me now. She was Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence and served as an aide to the White House Coronavirus Task Force. She also maybe running for Congress. We're going to get to that later, whether she's still doing that. But hey, friend, it is good to see you.
Hi, here we are.
Here we are. So go on.
I mean, I'm kind of, I'm just trying not to get the nightmares back from that era.
And yet I'm going to bring them to you, my friend. This is what friends do. Scaring is caring, as they say. All right. So let's do a little scaring and caring here. That piece that I read first thing this morning from Miles Taylor, I went, oh, and immediately asked my producer, can you get Olivia on the phone? Because you were mentioning you were part of it. We know that Donald Trump immediately, one of the first things he did was slash the funding for pandemics, period, including the little task force that made sure that cruise ships weren't bringing back norovirus and things. And he did that. And that's ages if you throw that up. What else should we be worried about?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about, actually, when I was seeing what was happening on this cruise ship. I was like, well, I do know the unit that was gutted that used to do the inspections on the cruise ships, which, by the way, the whole Doge thing and cutting funds or whatever, they didn't even pay for that. The cruise liners were the ones that would pay for this unit. So that's why it was so ridiculous. I was like, this isn't even costing taxpayer money. This is just stupid that they went in and gutted it. And I know these people because I used to work very closely with them. And so I had to say, like, my stomach was like, in not watching this cruise ship this time around, because I kept thinking about all the cruise ships I worked on during the COVID pandemic. I had a spreadsheet, Joy.
Well, I mean, I am terrified just to think about it, but what should have happened? Like in a normal administration, you were advising Mike Pence, who, I didn't agree with him politically, but he was a relatively normal Republican. Like what normal things would have happened if we were living in the normal world?
Well, in a normal world, I mean, we would have been communicating and the National Security Council would have been coordinating and actually playing in their roles, right? I mean, and we have, like Miles said in his post, we have exercised for pandemics. We've exercised for outbreaks. We have war gamed this, so to speak, where every agency comes to the table and you practice. That's what you do. And then when it happens, then you instill that plan. What happened during the COVID pandemic and then just during this task force was exactly what he said, was a task force was enacted and then a shadow task force was enacted. And then the stocks plummeted when the CDC person went on the news and said, Americans should prepare. This is real. This is coming. Remember that when Nancy Massner got out there and she said it. And the next thing you know, Mike Pence was handed the task force. And I was there for that meeting when they turned to him and they said, we've got to control the message. We've got to control the message internally. And then he looks at Pence and says, I think this is you. You're going to have to run the task force now, because we've got to control the messaging on this. Basically saying, we've basically got to start lying to the American people. Translation, that's what happened. And so I remember that day because I was the person that was going to the task force meetings from day one. And I was solely there as an advisor for Mike Pence, just listening to what was going on and briefing him on, this is what we're seeing overseas. This is what we're seeing in terms of what was happening in Wuhan. Like, I'm just giving him facts. And so that day when it got handed to him, I remember freaking out and being like, oh gosh, we own this. And now we are going to navigate this in the best way we can, fully knowing what the hidden agenda is behind here on how we're going to navigate the messaging in the Trump team. And I just remember, like I was saying, when I saw this cruise ship, I had a spreadsheet of cruise ships, Joy, where they were all out on the water. There were thousands of people on these cruise ships around the world. And I just remember the one outside of Oakland, California, where people were hanging signs saying, please let us dock.
Mhm.
There were other cruise ships that were turned away at ports, just like this one was at one of the ports. Like, I literally started to get those feelings of anxiety and nightmares because I was one of the people with a team that were trying to figure out how we were going to navigate the situation. And we knew that the cruises were going to be bad. We knew that the people on the cruise ships were at risk. We knew that the longer they were on those ships, the likelihood that this outbreak was going to happen. Now, I will tell you this, I share this because I feel like we've gutted the unit now at the CDC. We have no trust in what the leadership is telling us because we don't know. I mean, Trump was like, oh, it's going to be fine. I was like, yeah, I remember when you said that the first time. And we all knew behind the scenes that this was not going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I do remember thinking of the cruise ships at the time, like, what are we going to do to figure out how we're going to quarantine these people, how we're going to keep people safe? Now, granted, this doesn't spread like COVID. I understand that. But, there's a norovirus outbreak. And I'm thinking to myself, I've had conversations with the CEOs of the cruise lines back then. And we knew that we had a problem. And they asked for help. They asked for help from the federal government because it was like, we don't even know where to start. We want to do the right thing. We want to save people, but we need help. We need to be talking to the CDC experts. I was talking to the evacuations head of the unit.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out how to navigate this. None of those people are there. None of that exists now.
That is what I was just going to get to, is that at that time, what you're describing are relatively normal people who are not, political in terms of their focus on, keeping people safe and alive. Now it's RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, a bunch of sycophants. If Donald Trump told Pete Hegseth, blow the cruise ship out of the water and kill all the people, he'd do it. Like, there's no one there. And we're in an atmosphere where MAGA has now won the White House, and their ethic is no masks, no mandates. Even if there was a vaccine, there isn't one. The first time Trump did Operation Warp Speed to speed up the production of the vaccine, there's no way they would do that now. Because his base is so anti-vax, anti-mask, anti-anything to mitigate. We would now be doing the experiment they wanted to do with COVID, which is let everybody catch it, everybody get Hantavirus, get the rat virus, and then develop natural immunity. That's what they would do, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the herd immunity that Scott Atlas kept pushing. Remember him? That's a blast from the past. Dr. I'll put that in quotes, Atlas, who showed up. And well, I mean, I remember this because he suddenly becomes sort of the shadow doctor who's calling Donald Trump on the side, outside of Dr. Fauci and the actual task force doctors that are trying to figure out how to navigate this. So, I mean, when I think of this and I see what's happening, I can't even imagine what the internal discussions must be with no actual order, no expertise. I mean, and then also keep in mind that I was there when Trump was like trying to say, well, I don't want my numbers to go up.
Right.
Like, these are Americans.
Because,
Let's
right.
figure this out.
And there's an election. And again, Olivia, there's an election coming up. And this is where we get to, they're doing everything in their power to fix this coming election, because they do not want to be removed from power. They don't want the grip to stop. And we're in the same exact situation we were in 2020 when there was a big election. Donald Trump didn't want his numbers to go up because he wanted to get reelected. Now he wants to flip the House and Senate, or keep the House and Senate, so they have the same incentive structure. Downplay this thing that has a 40% kill rate, downplay if it's a pandemic, pretend nothing's happening, no masks, no mandates, no nothing. One of the ways that they're trying to hang on to the House and Senate by cheating is by gerrymandering, and gerrymandering outside of the realm of a census. You at one point were running for Congress in the state of Virginia. You put this post that is raising the question of whether you're going to continue to do that. We know a lot's going on in Virginia. There is this fight over whether the Supreme Court is going to let the 3 million Virginians who voted to redistrict the state have their way. Tell me where this stands for you.
Well, that's the thing that was enraging on Friday when this ruling hit, is it was like, okay, we voted. We, the people in Virginia, the voters showed up. There was a huge get out the vote effort. There was a lot of work done on this, and the voters showed up and they voted. And then we get this ruling, and as you can imagine, it was shocking. I mean, we were, I think a lot of us as candidates especially are personally impacted by this, because we are like, well, basically I'm running for a district that they have now said is not happening, doesn't exist. And so we're in limbo right now, Joy, to be honest with you. I had to take a pause. I had to assess over the weekend, and I had some other efforts that I was doing, because life doesn't stop. Bad things still are going on in our country every single day. And I was at a nice detention facility, and that's where I was on Friday evening. And so I got the news that morning. It was a little bit of chaos because nobody knew what that would mean. It seemed like, okay, is it on? Is it off? I think all of us are assessing, are you running? Are you going to run in another district? I mean, what does this mean? And then I don't know if you saw this yet, like this afternoon, they're now appealing to the Supreme Court. And look, I'm of the opinion, fight. Because Republicans fight. They fight every round. They don't let their foot off the gas. Whatever wreckage they're going to cause along the way, they don't care. And so I think the right thing is to fight and go to the Supreme Court. But we just saw what they did to the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
I mean, so I am under no illusions that they're going to side and do the right thing here, or even take the case. We have no idea what is going to happen. So I'm in a little bit of a holding pattern, trying to assess, like, what does this look like? What does it look like for me? What are the other candidates? Like, I mean, we're all kind of like looking around.
Yeah.
Saying, and how do you run a campaign with people now where people are like, well, is it real? Is it not? And I'm like, that's a great question.
Yeah. It's a maddening situation made worse, as you said, by John Roberts, who I would not be surprised if he completely reverses himself and says, oh, no, you can't do political gerrymandering. Are you kidding me? No, Virginia. You can't do political gerrymandering. The only gerrymandering that's legitimate is racial gerrymandering. Like, they'll just switch it. Like, he'll just flip it, right? Because they don't have any principles. Their only principle is ensuring that Republicans continue to control the government, because they're all stealing. They're all grifting. J.D. Vance, we can put this up, Jason, has said, we're going to lean in. He said, we're going to take, to your point, they fight hard. They're going to take very decisive action, that Republicans need to do that in every single state. He said that on Sunday, so that after a new census, that will make the congressional apportionment fair. To them, fair means they get all the power and Democrats get to be ruled by them.
Yeah, and that is what is so angering about this, Joy, that I sometimes want to be like, no, that doesn't mean we give up. We double down and we fight. I mean, that's what the Democrats need to do. I mean, I'm of the opinion that, like, you got to meet them where they are, and this is what they're doing. And every opportunity, we have to counter it. And it may be uncomfortable, right? When I was on the campaign trail and I was out there, supporting the redistricting, asking people to come out and vote yes on it. And some people, I would talk to them and they would be like, well, it feels a little uncomfortable. Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit, it's gerrymandering. It's ridiculous. I'm like, no, take a step back and, like, meet the moment. What are we up against here? I mean,
I agree. And part of me wants someone like you, who was on the inside of the Republican Party, to start running in Republican primaries too. Like, I think we have to not limit ourselves. We have to not limit our imagination. We're going to need some folks to go in those primaries and get rid of some of those people as well. So we need to have these bigger conversations. Some people should run as Democrats. Some people just need to go in and run and beat those Republicans at their own game in their own party and throw those people out into unemployment. It's a bigger question. But even in the Democratic Party now, you put up this one, Jason, 811, some of our so-called Democrats are not even honest, right? So there's this piece that came out over the weekend. This is the Keystone out of Pennsylvania. John Fetterman, who on paper is a Democrat, he sits on the committee that oversees the CHIPS Act, which is something that Joe Biden pushed for and got signed into law under the Democrats. And the CHIPS Act puts a lot of money into chips production, microchip production around the country. There's a company called Micron. John Fetterman purchased Micron tech stocks, and he's now up 68%. He oversees his committee oversees Micron. And so this looks like insider trading to me and outright corruption. And so when people ask, why does John Fetterman seem to be so disloyal to the Democratic Party? This is why. He's in on it. He's making money being a senator. Being a senator is the best gig he ever had when it comes to getting rich. So that's why we can't trust half of these politicians.
I agree. I actually think, I mean, the corruption runs deep, and it is really they're beholden to one, their own pocket and bank accounts and special interests. And a lot of these other special interests, very major corporate scenarios that basically paralyze these people from ever doing the right thing. Meanwhile, when I was out and talking to voters, I mean, people are hurting. Like people are like, they're looking at their health care. They're looking at hospitals being closed. They're looking at what is happening in higher education, which I care about. I was a first generation college student. I had to really work hard to get my way through Penn and figure out how I was going to pay for it. And I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm like, they've gutted the Department of Education. They're gutting grants. The Parent Plus loans that I hear about in Virginia, the window for where you qualify income wise is extremely challenging. I mean, it is, and plus, never mind that we are in an unjustified war with Iran, which we can get into another time, because that's one of the reasons that I decided to run, was because I was so angry when I saw what they did, that we are in a never-ending situation that is impacting all of us. But yet you have people like Fetterman who are like, well, I'm going to kind of side on certain things because that's okay, because I just saw my stock go up and my pocketbook got bigger. I mean, and I have to tell you, Joy, some people were like, is she going to be a Fetterman? Is she going to switch? I was like, do not insult me like this, because hell has no fury like a woman's sport. And tell me, I am pissed.
Right. No, Olivia she's the opposite of John Fetterman. I'm just telling you, I know the sisters. No, she's the opposite. So no, you don't have to worry about that.
I was like, that is the biggest insult to me. Do not even compare me.
And here's the thing that's so wild. Olivia, you were a better Democrat when you were a Republican in the Trump administration than Fetterman is now. That is how much better you are. You were better. I would rather took you then on team. Well, you were with them, because even there you were, I'm telling you, you were an honest person, even working for Mike Pence. So I don't agree with him, but at least you were always honest. We used to have you on from back in the day. I've known you since you were in that side. And when I tell you this lady is honest, before I let you go, I do want to talk about what you touched on a little bit. There was a story that I posted on Mother's Day about this sweet 18-year-old boy who was dying of cancer. His family were detained. They tried to cross into the United States undocumented, just because they wanted to see their baby before he died. The story had a sad and happy ending. They did get to see him. He died hours later. This is what ICE is doing to our country. This child had to go public with his dying months just so he could see his mom and dad before he died of cancer. You were in an ICE detention facility. We have a photo that you shared with us. Talk about what you saw. And there's the name above your head, Core Civic, one of the companies that is profiting, speaking of grifting, off of Donald Trump's horrible Stephen Miller-led policies.
Yeah, it was, I followed that story about the cancer patient, and that was so heartbreaking. And the fact, it was just at moments like, I'm so glad that he got to see his family one last time. But the horrificness of everything that families are facing on a daily basis. And like on Friday, I found out about the Virginia ruling, but I was on the way up to New Jersey. And, it is my best friend. It was my college roommate. And we went to Penn together. She was Puerto Rican. We were first generation college students together. And when she called, we had been fighting this thing. Her husband was detained by ICE last Memorial Day. And we had been fighting this thing for a year. I went out, we got the lawyers. He was picked up in front of his house. It's one of the stories where he runs his landscaping company, pays taxes. They have filed because they are married. He's married to a U.S. citizen. They have a 4-year-old little boy. I am the godmother. And we won that in August, Joy. We won round 1. They never released him. He remained in detention. He was in detention till this weekend, almost a year, because we're coming up on Memorial Day again. And we got the notice that ICE had appealed. They never released him, and ICE won the appeal. And we got notified that he was being deported imminently. Of course, everybody goes into panic mode when you hear that. I'm like, you got to show up in person. We got to figure out where he's going. Like, he's Mexican. I hope he's going back to Mexico. But going in, I took some pictures there. We were there with the 4-year-old. He's playing in the parking lot. Like, this is not a playground. Like, these are the memories that he's going to have for a very long time. They went there twice a week to see his dad, who was detained. And then leaving there, you showed that photo. We had already been sobbing inside, like puffy eyes. Like, we said our goodbyes. And then we were kind of like, I'm looking at baby A is what I call him, and trying to figure out like how we're going to tell them, how do we explain this, that you're not going to see your dad in person and you've been going to this weird facility and you don't understand it at your age. But when you ask to go see him next Friday, because it's, now become the family tradition of this is what you do, we're not going to go because you're not going to see him because he's gone. And the conditions though, like when I was talking to him, there were no windows. They have no windows in those cells. They're in this group of people in this rooms that they're held in, and they don't go outside. We've got murderers and criminals. They're allowed at least to go outside. They're out in the fresh air. He did not see the fresh air at all. I mean, we got notified. We were told, I didn't talk about this publicly because I was like, I just want to make sure he gets on that plane. I want to make sure he gets to Mexico because we at least know where he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he lands there. And I mean, he called my friend and he said, wow, at least I get to see the sky again, because he hadn't seen the outdoors. And I'm like, what are we doing here across the country? I mean, I'm looking around the room. I was seeing like young families coming in. You're all in one room together. When you're talking to people, you can see the tears. I can see young people looking at the little boy and thinking about what does the future look like. And, he's playing with building blocks while we're having conversations about how are you going to rebuild your life? I mean, he'd been in this country over 20 years.
And that is what we're doing. And by the way, it is harming the U.S. economy. We're losing business owners like your friend's husband. We are basically, the World Cup is going to be a disaster. The bookings are down. Hotel rooms are light. We're not seeing the kind of tourism coming in. People are scared to come here. They don't want to be here in Trump's MAGA America. So they're harming the economy. It's not making the economy better. It's not making America great again. It's making America broke. Olivia Troye, I appreciate you. Please keep us posted. If you do decide you're going to go ahead and run, please come back and we can talk about your campaign, but keep us posted on your decision. I appreciate you.
I will. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you.
Great to see you too. Olivia Troye, everybody. She is really one of the good ones. Before we jump even further into this is what the stuff you got to keep in mind, guys, because this is what they're doing to the country and hurting the country. But there are still a few companies that are trying to do the right thing. Let me thank one of our wonderful sponsors that's keeping us here in front of you. The Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Quince. Now, look, you know me, I've been trying to be super intentional about what I wear day to day. You see, I've been making choices about what to wear based on what's comfortable, what's affordable, what works for my lifestyle. This is the thing I do. And one of the ways that I really help myself do that is Quince. Quince makes it easy to refresh your wardrobe every day. And they can do that this spring with pieces that feel as great as they look. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, beautiful organic cotton, and ultra soft denim. They're lightweight linen pants, dresses, and tops. They start at just $30 each. And they're effortless, breathable, and so easy to wear on repeat. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut straight to the middleman. It's cut straight out of the middleman. They keep the middleman out so that you are paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. And if that doesn't matter to you in these really tough economic times, I don't know what to tell you, because this is the way to go if you want to dress well, look chic, but be comfortable and also keep your wallet reasonably used, right? Because it's so important to be able to afford what you're buying. If you want to refresh your wardrobe every day with luxury that you can actually use and afford, head to quince.com/joyreid for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in our favorite country, Canada. That's quince.com/joyreid for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/joyreid. I especially love their fabulous linen stuff and their cotton soft sweaters. Fabulous. Love them. All right. So your reminder that Black voters have never strictly followed party loyalty in the voting booth. As I've told you on this show before, we can put the chart up again. For most of the early 20th century, Black voters called themselves Republicans, but voted at the presidential level for Democrats because those Democrats seemed relatively better for Black Americans' economic prospects and their prospects for achieving at least some level of civil rights and voting rights. But disenfranchising Black voters and stripping them of both their voting rights and their humanity and basic rights as citizens has been a standard part of American history, literally from the inception of this country, whether it's the utter destruction of the prosperous Black communities like Tulsa's Black Wall Street, Greenwood, or Florida's Rosewood, or the constant creativity of the Southern right-wing governors who used to call themselves Democrats and now call themselves Republicans to stop Black people from exercising voting power or from serving in state houses or in Congress. It literally just never seems to stop. And if you think that they're doing that because they want to stop with Black people, you just really don't understand conservatives. Whether they call themselves Democrats or Republicans, the goal is to stop every working class person by focusing on stopping Black people first. It's always the way it rolls. A new book by Damario Solomon-Simmons examines this never-ending fight. And the book is called Redeem a Nation, the century-long battle to restore the soul of America. And you may recall Damario as the attorney for the survivors of the Greenwood Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. And Damario joins us now. I have my book here in my hot little hand. Damario, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Joy. How you been?
I am doing well. And for those who have forgotten, let's take a very quick look one more time at the wonderful late Viola Fletcher and her testimony before Congress.
My name is Viola Ford Fletcher. I'm the daughter of Lucinda Ellis and John Wesley Ford of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm the sister of Hughes Van Ellis, who is also here today. I'm a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. 2 weeks ago, I celebrated my 107th birthday. Today, I'm visiting Washington, D.C. for the first time in my life. I'm here seeking justice, and I'm asking my country to acknowledge what happened in Tulsa in 1921. On May 31st in 21, I went to bed in my family's home in Greenwood. Neighbors of Tulsa, the neighborhood I felt asleep in that night, was rich, not just in terms of wealth, but in culture, community, heritage, and my family had a beautiful home. We had great neighbors, and I had friends to play with. I felt safe. I had everything a child could need. I had a bright future ahead of me. The night of the massacre, I was awakened by my family. My parents and 5 siblings were there. I was told we had to leave, and that was it. I will never forget the violence of the white mob when we left our home. I still see Black men being shot, Black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see Black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day.
And in this book, Redeem a Nation, chapter 4, you titled it, They Kill You in This Town. And you talk about being born in North Tulsa. Why did you write this book? And what will people learn about what Viola Fletcher went through and how that relates to what this country has done to its soul?
Well, Joy, I wrote this book for a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't want anybody else to be like I was. I grew up in Greenwood. I went to middle school at George Washington Carver Middle School on Greenwood Avenue, and I knew nothing about the massacre. I knew nothing about the greatness of Greenwood until I went off to college, and I had a college professor talking about this great place in North Tulsa. I raised my hand and said, hey, that's not true. I'm from this place. And obviously I was wrong. I was humiliated. And ever since that time, I have had a fire in me to educate myself and others about Greenwood, and then search and try to find justice and reparations. And in this book, it chronicles the Greenwood story, how it was created. It chronicles the massacre. It chronicles the legal fight for justice ever since 1921. But it's more than that. It's more than a legal thriller. It's something that is relatable, down to earth, personable. People are going to learn the backstory of how Greenwood was created. Some of the people in the book, like Mother Fletcher, Mother Randall, our one living survivor who's 111 years old. But it's also a blueprint of what Black communities can do throughout this country. This book right now is so timely, and I kind of hate that, because what we're dealing with right now in today's world is what this book is talking about. And what does it take for us as a community to get back to building Greenwoods all over this country? Because Greenwood was just as much a physical location as it was a state of mind. And I take people through that very specifically in this book.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that I think people don't realize about Greenwood is that after the 1921 massacre, Greenwood actually rebuilt, but then the Eisenhower era highways came along and just destroyed it all over again. And through the 1970s is when the final sort of permanent destruction took place. It wasn't even just the massacre. It stalled those incredible people, but their resilience said, no, we're going to rebuild. They just couldn't survive the federal government.
Right. And this is why this book is so important, because Greenwood's story is the story of Black America. As you stated, there were Black places all over this country that had wealth, that had organization, had prosperity. Greenwood just happened to be the most organized, the most prosperous in the history of this country. But it's not unique what happened to Greenwood, either the massacre or urban renewal, which we call Negro removal in our neighborhoods. And so I talk about that in the book and make sure we got to stop telling ourselves these falsehoods about ourselves, like we're our own worst enemy. We're not our own worst enemy when we have a federal government and we have white supremacists and people that call themselves conservatives, which, what are they trying to conserve? They're trying to conserve power for themselves going back to the 1700s. These are the type of things I'm talking about in the book for us to be able to come together, learn the lessons of Greenwood, learn the lessons of how was our ancestors able to build HBCUs, able to build fraternities and sororities, able to build cities like Greenwood during a time like this. They call it a nadir. This is a time where it was rampant violence, rampant Jim Crow, sharecropping, peonage farming. My grandmother was a sharecropper. I'm really trying to bring these stories to light as a way to motivate us, inspire us, how we can redeem this nation. When I say redeem this nation, I'm not just talking about the United States of America. I'm talking about Black nation, the Black folks in this country also.
We are living in a time when, Jason, if you can put up B4, I want to show you all the 4 Black Congress members of Louisiana. And that doesn't mean the 4 who are currently there. It means the 4 there ever were in history. That is the entire group of the number of the Black members of Congress from the state of Louisiana, where PBS Pinchback was from, ever in history. Let's go to the next one. This is B5. This is Justin J. Pearson, who is running for Congress in a seat that has been eliminated. The seat he was literally running for has been wiped off the map in the state of Tennessee. That's his brother, who was detained, arrested for simply saying, we deserve to have a seat. They have 1 seat in the state of Tennessee. You're talking about rebuilding a nation. The nation that this Black nation exists in doesn't even believe that Black people should have a single seat in the states where we have huge numbers of people living.
Look, this nation doesn't believe we deserve anything, period. Not a single seat, not even to be outside looking in. And that has been what started this country. As I stated in the book, this country was started and built upon the enslavement of our people and the genocide of Native Americans. And this is the animating DNA of this country. And we have to accept that. And that's one of the things, and Joy, you gave me some great quotes for this book, and I want to thank you for that. And one of the things that we talked about is that before this era, this Trump era, right, people could say, oh, I don't know if racism is that bad. I don't know what it is. Your grandmother, oh, she's making it worse than what it was. We had a Black president. You can't say that anymore. Right? It's very, very clear. The scales are off our eyes. It's very, very clear what is going on. And if we don't get our act together and come together as a community, and I don't mean everybody has to come together, because it's never going to be everybody. But as long as you're not anti-Black, we should be able to come together and make sure, because these people have a plan. The guy in Alabama said he wants to get rid of the 14th Amendment.
He did.
14th Amendment, which is specifically for our citizenship, the thing that's supposed to protect us. They're not playing this game. They're not playing a game. They seek to wipe us out like they try to do in Tulsa. And the reason I think this book, Redeem a Nation, is so timely, you're going to hear these stories of people that was almost wiped off the earth. Their goal was to run the Negro out of Tulsa. Well, I still live in Tulsa. Last time I looked, someone called me a Negro, right? The point is, we must be willful resilient. We have to understand we have tremendous odds, obstacles, and opposition, but we've always had that, and we've always had to fight. And guess what? Just like the men in Greenwood who eventually lost the war, because the battle was 36 hours. I laid that out in the book.
Yeah.
But for 12 hours, they fought and held off. We have to fight. We may not even win all the fights. That doesn't even matter. We must fight for everything. One of the survivors of the massacre, Hal Singer, he passed away right before we filed our litigation in September of 2020. He wrote me a letter. His wife sent me a letter. He said, we may lose, but we must fight for our rights and our dignity. And so I hope people that's listening to this interview and read this book, Redeem a Nation, regardless of what, fight for your rights and your dignity.
Yeah. And I want you to amplify just a little bit more and you say more about that, because this is one of the things I think people, when they think about the Tulsa Race Massacre, they think of these Black people in this, beautiful community being victimized. No, there was like a firefight where the black men of the community went and holed up in a hotel, a quite posh hotel in the town that a black man owned, and literally held off this white mob to the point where the federal government sent in military planes, like what Pete Hegseth would literally do if he was in the same situation, to bomb the town with military jets. Like, the story is so wild that when Watchmen came out and they portrayed that in the opening, people thought they made that up. No, that is literally what happened. They left out the firefight, though. Please talk more about that.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things I'm so proud to be from Greenwood, because these black men, some of the richest, most powerful, wealthiest black men in America, people like J.B. Stratford that owned the Stratford Hotel, which is the largest African-American owned hotel in America at the time, they went across the train tracks to protect the life of 19-year-old shoe shiner Dick Rowland. Not a wealthy person, not a property owner, but someone that the community said, we love him and we're going to go protect him. And when they went across those train tracks, about 100 of these black men, many of them World War I veterans, dressed in their suits with their guns, they encountered a mob of about 2,000 whites. And you could imagine this scene, and one of the white guys tried to take the guns from one of the brothers, O.B. Mann, and a shot rang off, and about 12 people were killed at that point. Then the black man retreated back over the train tracks into Greenwood, and they set up defensive perimeters. And they fought them for 12 hours until the National Guard, as you stated, the National Guard came in. They came in with their machine guns, and they were finally able to break through the actual defenses of the black men and women. There were some women fighting too, let's be clear, and break through. And then they poured into Greenwood, and then they stole and loot and killed over 1,550 homes and businesses destroyed. Over 3,000 people, Joy, was disappeared. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know if they were burnt up, put in a mass grave, put in the river, but we never heard from them again. And do you know when the adjutant general from the Oklahoma National Guard came to town, he wrote his after-action report. These are not my words. This is Adjutant General Barrett. He said that when he got on scene, there was 20 to 25,000 whites going berserk in Greenwood. But we got to remember, we fought. It was 36 hours. We fought for 12 hours. We were just outnumbered and outgunned. But the point is, you got to fight regardless if we outnumbered and outgunned, because that's how you fight for your rights and fight for your dignity. And that's what Redeemer Nation is about.
It's such a, you said, it reads like a thriller, because that's the thing, is that people don't know those parts of the story. They just know the victimization, and people forget about the heroism. And it really is an important point to make. I learned this in doing the research for Megger and Merle. I got my Megger and Merle cup here. It's book days. We're going to have book cup. Is that World War I and World War II were such key parts of the civil rights movement, because that and the Civil War, those are the three times when armed black men used their war heroism to the advantage of the larger community. Those black men who fought in the Civil War took those guns home with them, and they were prepared to fight Jim Crow, just like we're gonna have to now fight John Crow. And those World War I veterans fought in Greenwood, and then those World War II veterans are the one who said, oh, if there's an exemption from the poll tax for World War II veterans, we want that, and we want to vote. And the people leave out the piece about war, our war veterans and how important they were to civil rights.
No, absolutely. Completely important. As we talk, it made me think about a story I put in the book of this mother, thinking about the black women and the power of black women. There's a story about this black mother who there literally is a plane is going over there. They're raining down bullets. Buildings are burning around her, and her daughter gets scared and runs away from her. And she runs after her daughter, and a couple of people say, what are you doing? You cannot chase her. You're going to be killed. And that mother said, if I have to be killed, I got to get my daughter. And she ran into that gunfire. She somehow survived. She got her daughter. And it's just a beautiful story of what we have to do. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. Sometimes you have to go into the danger. That is the plight of black people. That is the black tax. It's not fair. It's not fun, but it's just what it has to be. And we have to be, we have to be able to stand up like our ancestors did, like Medgar Evers did. None of us want to be mowed down going into our home in front of our family. None of us wants that, but it's going to take us standing strong for our rights and our dignity. And Redeemer Nation is going to give you a blueprint. One of the things I'm talking about at RedeemerNation.com is joining our Greenwood 11,000 campaign. There's about 11,000 black people in Greenwood at the time of the massacre. We're looking for 11,000 black folks to join with us by May 31st, 2026, which will be the 105th anniversary, not just to read the book, but to sign the pledge, to download the worksheets, host a community discussion in your home, your business, your fraternity, your church, and then get with us at Justice for Greenwood so we can deploy you with tangible action and organized fashion to fight against this fascism and racism that's coming our way.
The book is Redeem a Nation, and you can go to redeemthenation.com to get involved, as Damario is discussing. And he doesn't just say that. He is somebody who has done that and lived his life fighting for the people of Greenwood and for those survivors. The book, Redeem a Nation, is on sale at the shop. You know how we do. We make bestsellers on the Joy Reid Show, and we want to do this with this book too. It's a thriller. It's important history. It's the history even Damario didn't get growing up in Tulsa, in Greenwood himself. And so he wants to make sure there's not another generation that doesn't know the story. Go to the shop at shop.thejoyreidshow.com. Get your book, and then go to redeemthenation.com so that you guys can get involved. Thank you, Damario. Thank you for bringing this book to us. We appreciate you and this incredible, important story.
Thank you so much, Joy. I appreciate all you do for us in Greenwood and for our whole community.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the blurbs on the book include one from Joy Reid. So you're going to want to look. Look. So you're going to want to go and get this book. I liked it so much I went ahead and blurbed it. So that is another thing we do. We do love books on the show. That's why we call ourselves readers. One of the reasons we call ourselves readers is, well, my last name is Reid, Jason, and my last name is Reid. So it's like a pun. Is it a pun? But it also is because we like to read books. The little nerd face glasses is kind of our little theme. It's our theme emoji. It's our themoji, as you would say. So we always like to bring you guys great books. So thank you all for listening. And please take a peek at that book. You can get it at the shop. And then please go on and support Damario's work. He represented those survivors literally until the day they died. And these survivors were 6 and 7 years old. They were the last 3 survivors, and there's only one left. And she is like 107. No, she's only about 107. She's not 111 yet. She'll get to 111 though. They're strong. These are strong people. Can you imagine being a 6-year-old and having to live? Oh, she might be 111. Jason, is she 111? No, well, she was 107 at the time, so she might actually be 111. That's possible. That's possible. All right. Welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. Please sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you bought merch, please go ahead and tag us. Tag us in. Tag me at Joy Reid or at Joy Reid Show on Instagram or at Joy Reid Official on TikTok. If you're still over there with the with that evil family that owns TikTok, unfortunately, they bought it. But all the apps are bad. Like at this point, they're all bad. Hashtag wearing joy if you got some merch. The Webbies are going on right now. Look at the Webby cookie. I completely forgot to give these out. It's my bad. I owe all of my team the Webby cookies. We picked up some when Jason and I went to the photo shoot. There's going to be cute pictures of Jason and myself posing with the Webby Award, which is actually very fetching. It's a very fetching, beautiful silverware. It's actually quite heavy. It looks like a paper clip, but it's like a heavy paper clip. And we'll hopefully try to get a copy of one. You know, when you win an award, you have to pay for the actual statue. So you have to actually buy it. Any award, you have to put a little coin in to get the statue. But we're very proud of our team. Won our Webby. That's the Webby cookie. I'm not going to eat it. This isn't going to be like the Mosh bars, where if this disappears, I don't know how you're going to guess who ate it. If this disappears on me, guys.
There we go again with the Mosh bars.
If this goes like the Mosh bars, I don't know I don't even know. I don't know what I'll even do. Because no one's taste. It's in plastic wrap. But anyway, we're proud of our Webby. This hour of the Joy Reid Show, by the way, is brought to you by another thing that is delicious to consume, and that is 120 Live. Here it is. I keep it with me. This is my powdery one. Be on a diet. Now listen, the thing we have to talk about is high blood pressure, because look, this era will give you high blood pressure if you didn't have it already. But honestly, especially if you are prone to it because it runs in your family, it's a huge deal. High blood pressure is actually the #1 leading cause of mortality in the country. And many people don't even know they have it. And they're not checking to make sure that they have it. So if you have high blood pressure, you need to start making lifestyle changes. Before you even do the medical changes, and even as I should say you're doing medical changes, you should start with lifestyle change. It's really important. And the people who can really benefit from 120 Live are the people who check their numbers, who know their blood pressure is high, and who want to do something about it. So if you try 120 Live, it is a once-a-day functional drink that's made with ingredients that help support healthy blood pressure. It tastes great. It's refreshing. It's made from a blend of superfruit juices. It fits into your regular life. And the powdered version, which I just showed you, has only 1 gram of sugar, making it a smart option for people watching their blood sugar. The liquid version is good too, because you can actually put it in the fridge and make it super ice cold. So when you finish doing your Tai Chi, which is my new favorite thing, you can drink it. You get yourself a blood pressure boost and also something delicious and healthy. Just try for 14 days. Measure before and after. If your numbers do not improve, you will get a full refund. Over 1,000 health professionals have supported or endorsed its use. It's increasingly become a go-to natural tool in clinical settings, not just in wellness circles. So if you want to try it, go to 120life.com. That is 120life.com. Use my code JOY or the code REID, R-E-I-D, for 20% off. So try it risk-free, 2 weeks. No blood pressure coming down. They'll give you a full refund. Go to 120life.com. Use the code JOY or REID for 20% off. Don't wait till next month. You have nothing to lose other than your high blood pressure numbers. 120life.com, code JOY or REID, 20% off. And these statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Okay, so we are in hour 2.
Yeah, and now we got the comments going in about me eating these cookies. Now you see what
Why do y'all blame Jason? We have to get to the bottom of this. Why does Jason catch all the strays? There are, I told y'all the number of people on our show.
That happens all the time is that, whenever it comes to these cookies,
well, we know Cam didn't do it because he's literally in another
Cam is
country.
not here,
yeah,
but
Cam is in another country. We know Sean didn't do it because she's in another state, right? But the suspects.
There's about 3 of them.
I would say about 4 suspects.
Maybe 4.
There's several suspects that
including yourself.
I didn't eat them. I ate the 2 that y'all know I ate. I ate that chocolate fudgy one.
So that means you ate some of them. So
I
you
ate
did
2 of them.
Okay, but
2.
the point is, I've eaten none.
But there were all these other flavors that I didn't get to try because y'all ate on my mom's bar.
Blame your daughter 1, and then blame I should say blame
There's
my
one.
producer.
She's my producer. We're gonna give her her honorific. Anyway. We think it's
I
either
would
Winnie
say
Wand,
Netta, but Netta's not here. So
Netta could have done it,
I don't know about that. I do think you basically, when we know those midnight snacks when nobody's around.
I don't think Ron did it too, because Ron don't seem like he. I don't think, and Ron usually traveling, so I don't think he did it. But there's a few people I think, and Jason, you on the list.
And listen, one of these days I'm gonna try one. But the thing is, one of these days I'm gonna try it.
You're right here, so you're closer. You're physically close to where the moss bars are. So that's a reality we have to deal with. Is your proximity to the bars.
And those Webby cookies right there, listen, I don't have it.
I'm gonna put my name
Give
on
that to the
this
team. I don't want any of that.
Don't put my name on this.
No, I'm saying,
give
the others to the team. I don't want any.
I'll give the other ones to the team, but this one right, I'll put my name. But see at the plastic in the back, it's gonna say Joy.
All right, that's fine. Let's get back to our show, lady.
Cookies. See, look, the people in the chat, they know what it is. Y'all know what it's like.
It's not
when
me,
you have people around eating your stuff.
It is not me. It is, anyway, it's not me.
The investigation. I'm a journalist, and so I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to figure that out, and also the attacks, the attempts on Trump. We're going to figure all of this out. All this investigative journalism is happening. The dude running and it being like, I'm texting my family while I'm running with 8 guns and knives. Texting my family, running through the mags. Through the mags. Wow. I'm a black guy that doesn't get shot by 18 cops. Whee! Through the mags.
And you know the sad thing to be true. Hey, Joy, the sad thing is, right? Since Marsh is one of our sponsors, I should at least have to try a bar. But see, I could give an honest opinion. There you go. So thank you. So y'all stop eating them so I can get one. Okay? Then I can actually say to the good people that I actually tasted one. But up to this day, I haven't had any.
Can I tell you that also when we first got the 120 Life, and I know who drank my 120 Life, because I was like doing my 120 Life routine, and I came out, I did my little morning Tai Chi, went in to get my 120 Life, and that was gone too, because people just be eating and drinking my stuff. They didn't even respect my need to keep my blood pressure down, and I need to keep my blood pressure down. So I went to get my 120 Life because I like it cold. I have it in the cold. I have it in the cold fridge.
Well, I can admit,
I
did take a few.
I went and opened it up to get my little cold fridge. I done done my Tai Chi. I done done my poses and everything. Went to get it, and there was nothing in there. And this one, you got to work for it. You got to put this one in the blender. And I was ready to just go ahead and pop it down, and gone. I can't keep nothing. I don't get nothing.
I may have been responsible for a few of those.
Okay, so now you've admitted
that. We are talking about 120 Life at this point. I'm not talking about.
You have a tendency.
Well, the next time the Marsh bars come through, I'm going to talk. I'm going to tell the truth. If I get a Marsh bar, we'll let everybody know that I have.
Who drank it? Who?
I did have some of those, and especially some of those. When I see 1 or 2 of them left, I just grab one. I did do that.
You did drink. See,
I drank 1 or 2 of the cold ones, but
okay. Well, see, at least you admitted it. Let's thank
Megan
Underwood, $49.99 in the till. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Someone gifted a bunch of membership today. I appreciate you. We got the super stickers going. We love our members and our Team TJRS folks. If you are going to be at the New York show, shout out yourself. Let us know so we can know that you're going to be there. So we will shout you out when we see you guys. I have somebody in here, FP Knox, and you're confessing. He's confessing a pattern
I am confessing
Wonder
to
Doggy says
120
it's
life.
a pattern. Wonder Doggy said it's a pattern. I'm right. I'm with you, Wonder Doggy.
Well,
Jason confessing to all the things.
The sad thing is he can only I confess to this. I did say the
Ms.
120
Nevertari
life.
says as long as they ain't blaming me, that
Well,
we are. How do you know we're not blaming
exactly.
you? How do you know we're not blaming you? We don't know that. You don't have any evidence that we're not. Yep. Denise said Jason confessing.
I confess to 120 life. Again, I will let everybody know what a marsh bar tastes like before Joy, Winsome, Wanjera, everybody eats it. Okay?
I don't know why y'all acting like Nitha not a suspect.
She don't live here. Sometimes. Well, she's never around. Well, actually, maybe she's had a few and we don't know about.
Nitha was with us for the Halloween, for
That's
New
right,
Year's.
New Year's.
Nitha, so Nitha was here. Nitha could have
She
put them
probably
right in her
grabbed
purse.
like 4 boxes, put in her bag. And
It could be any of these people except Cam, who lives in another country,
Yeah.
or Sean, who lives in another state. If you've been in this proximity to this studio, you're on the list. You're a suspect. I'm just saying. We gonna figure it out. They said thank you for fessing up, Jason. Wonder Doggy said thank you.
I have done. I've said that the 120 life. I am responsible for leaving maybe one in the fridge. But yes,
bar
that's
snatcher,
me.
we watching you.
But
You love
definitely,
the face and bar snatcher.
I will let y'all know how those marsh
bar
bars
snatcher.
taste when I get to taste them.
All right, let's move
on with our show.
This is what you call a hard turn. This is a tough story, and I'm glad we got our laughs in just to chat about it, because listen, they said the sidebars give me life. They do, D. We love the sidebars, and we love Jason even if he ate the mosh bars. But let's do a hard turn, because this is a really serious story, and I'm glad that you guys are stuck around for it, because this is important. We need to do some activism for real. I want to show you guys a picture. This is a picture of Tony Carruthers. So this is Mr. Carruthers. And you'll see his happy smile there. And he was convicted and sentenced to die. Let me see if I can get over here. For the alleged kidnapping and murder of a man named Marcellus Anderson. And he has made a claim of actual innocence in this case. I don't know why my little computer's not working here. Hold on just one second. And so this is a case where
you good?
No, because I'm not able to get my little mouse to go over where I need it to go. Sometimes the computer just doesn't do what it wants. Sometimes it says I just don't want to.
Well, we can look at this smart for a little while till you get your computer together.
Yeah, and sometimes the computer just decides it does not want to do what I want it to do, and then it doesn't have an interest in cooperating with me. And
Well,
so
we
this
got
is
to
one
give
of those
folks the
moments.
correct information, so I will make sure you.
Yeah, so Lord, I'm gonna open this because my computer has just decided it doesn't want to murder. But I want to make sure
We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. My silly computer decided it does not want to cooperate. So let's go, because I want to read this information accurately. So Tony Carruthers was convicted, and sentenced to death for his alleged involvement in the kidnapping and murder of a man named Marcellus Anderson. Delois Anderson, that's a woman, and a guy named Frederick Tucker back in 1994. He was given a death sentence for each of those 3 convictions. His execution is scheduled for May 21st, literally a week from today. There's no physical evidence in the case. There's never been any physical evidence linking Mr. Carruthers to this crime. The case against him was built entirely on testimony from jailhouse informants, who were widely known to be one of the leading causes of wrongful convictions. Let's talk about the paid informant. For 30 years, prosecutors said that they never gave their main witness anything in exchange for his testimony. But in August of 2024, after years of requests from the defense, the state finally revealed that their key witness had actually been a paid confidential informant. And there are lots of other problems with this case, including unmatched fingerprints and DNA from the crime scene that do not match Mr. Carruthers. And those prints and DNA have never been compared to the fingerprints and DNA of the alternate suspect. Mr. Carruthers' co-defendant, meanwhile, actually came forward in a signed statement affirming that Mr. Carruthers was not involved in the crime and instead pointed to another individual. Now, Tony Carruthers is, in fact, executed. He would be the first person in nearly a century to be put to death after being forced to represent himself at trial. James Montgomery was granted a new trial because the self-representation had deprived him of a fair trial, and he was later released from prison in 2016. So I'm going to play you a video that's going to show you some of the latest news in the case. This is C2.
Know that there is no physical evidence that matches Tony. The fight to prove a Tennessee man's innocence and keep him from being executed continues. Tony Carruthers was convicted 30 years ago of murdering 3 people in Memphis back in 1994. Representatives from several civil rights groups gathered downtown for a news conference this afternoon to try to update their efforts. Fox 13's Troyce Grant joins us live at the National Civil Rights Museum. Troyce, they want another look at a forensic test.
Darcy, they say a simple fingerprint test could be what proves that Carruthers is innocent, but they're running out of time as he's scheduled to be executed in 2 weeks from tomorrow. Now, that's why members of the ACLU and other nonprofit organizations got together to not only ask for help, but call to action and ask Governor Bill Lee to take Carruthers off of death row. They say based on the lack of Carruthers' DNA at the scene, there's no way he could have committed the murders. Carruthers' sister Tanya spoke this afternoon. She recalled one of the first conversations she had with her brother when all of this came out. She says she knows her brother is innocent, not only based on lack of evidence, but because of who he is as a person.
He said, Tanya, I didn't do this. I was nowhere around. He said, I didn't even know it was going to happen. And he said, if he knew it was going to happen, he would have done everything he could to try to stop it. That is the brother I know. That is the brother who stood up for me when we were in the rough neighborhoods, who fought the neighborhood bullies on my behalf, on my little brother's behalf.
So
now, at this time, Carruthers is set to be executed on May 21st. Coming up at 6, I'll be back with more details from today's event, and you'll hear from his attorney.
So this case is beyond dirty. There's so much about the case that does not feel right. That just doesn't seem right. And the idea that this man is going to be sentenced to death despite all of the problems in the case, then I don't know what it is. Let me tell you what the prosecutor in the case, then prosecutor Bobby Carter, said. He told the jury, if these murders don't qualify for the death penalty, then none ever will. And this, of course, is in the state of Tennessee, which is probably not a state that you should look for much mercy in. A couple of other elements to this crime. Now, there was allegedly false testimony about the victims in the case. Prosecutors at sentencing argued that the victims had been buried alive, which was central to the death sentences that were handed out to Mr. Carruthers. But at a post-conviction hearing in 2005, a medical examiner testified that he had reviewed the evidence in 1996 and had convicted that the victims were dead before they were buried. Another issue, Carruthers' attorney argued that his documented history of psychiatric disorders makes his execution unconstitutional. A judge denied the competency motion, and his counsel is appealing that decision. So the ACLU has filed a lawsuit challenging the state's denial of fingerprint testing. They're also challenging the court's refusal to consider new evidence. The prosecutors hid their main witness's status as a paid informant, and his lawyers from the ACLU, he now has lawyers. They also asked Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee to stop the execution, saying it will be deeply unfair to execute him under these circumstances. But again, we're talking about the same guy that is stripping the only Black majority Black congressional district out of his state. So do we think that this same guy who is literally deleting the only Black majority district, who he and the legislature have conspired to delete the only Black majority district in Tennessee, in Memphis, and hand that over to 3 MAGA Republicans? Let's talk with our guest. Joining me now is Yasemin Cader. She's the Deputy Legal Director of the ACLU and the Director of its Trone Center for Justice and Equality, and the center advocates for the constitutional and civil rights of those impacted by things like the death penalty. Ms. Cader, first of all, is it Cader or Cader?
Cader, you said it right. Yasemin Cader. So it's
All
great
right.
to be here, Joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Yasmin. What is the status of the attempt to appeal to the governor of Tennessee?
Well, we're waiting. We're waiting to hear what the courts are going to do. We have filed actions both in state and federal court. And what we're seeking is for them to test the evidence. We're seeking that they test the physical evidence because it could do 2 things. It could exonerate Mr. Tony Carruthers, which is really important. And it can also potentially lead to who the actual person is that committed these crimes. But, Mr. Carruthers is facing the death penalty on the words of unreliable informants. There's not one piece of physical evidence connecting him with this crime. And instead, really the only reason he's here is because the state is relying on words of unreliable informants that we cannot trust. This is not justice.
Does the original prosecutor know all of these issues? I read through them: the lack of DNA evidence, the lack of physical evidence, the person who was part of the crime actually coming forward and saying Mr. Carruthers was not a part of the crime. Does the original prosecutor know that? And does the current district attorney of the state of Tennessee know that?
They absolutely do. I mean, this has been highly publicized. One can't not know this, if you are at all following what's going on in your own state. And even the jurors from Mr. Carruthers' original trial, they themselves later said they would not have voted for death if they had known that the key witness was a paid informant and that the DNA evidence, there wasn't a hit for Mr. Carruthers. So they themselves said had they known that, they wouldn't have voted for death. So I can't imagine the scenario where somebody who is paying at all attention to the news of what's going on in their own state would not be aware of this.
In the ACLUs, as you look at these similar cases, is it not true that Black men are disproportionately given the death penalty particularly in conservative states like Tennessee?
Listen, it is abundantly true that the death penalty and its administration is a biased system that impacts Black people, and particularly and especially Black men, in an exorbitantly disproportionate rate. This is across this country. Okay. So I don't want to limit it to one place. This system of mass incarceration generally is one which has extraordinary racial disparities impacting Black people and impacting other people of color. So it's important, but yes, including and especially in this instance, that's what we're facing here. And that's what we face systemically across this country.
The James Montgomery precedent. This was a man who was granted a new trial because he had represented himself as Mr. Carruthers had, and that according to the ruling, he was deprived of a fair trial because of that. And he did get a new trial. He was actually released in 2016. Does that precedent help Mr. Carruthers?
It should. We hope it does. I mean, what's so important that this court do is that it look not just at precedent of justice that has happened in the past, but also look carefully at the facts of this case and apply the law to the facts. And if that's done, what we see is that justice has not occurred here, that there is evidence that needs to be tested, that if the state is going to have a death penalty in the first place, okay? If we are going to do that, if we're going to allow that system to exist, wouldn't you think they'd want to get it right? I mean, here we haven't even tested, the state itself hasn't tested this evidence, which could exonerate Mr. Carruthers. I just don't understand how that can stand.
I don't think they care about that. I mean, the problem is, I think that in this country, there is a desire for prosecutors to have a high win rate that I think matters more to prosecutors than making sure that they're killing the right person. And I hate to be that cynical, but I think, once a prosecutor is able to notch off a win, they just want it. And, we've seen it with the Central Park Five, where those young men were goaded into confessions that were illegal. They were children who were goaded into confessing to a crime they did not commit. And somebody like Donald Trump wanted them all to be executed. And they would be dead if Donald Trump had his way.
Well, what we have seen, though, across this country in states throughout this union is we have seen a real movement of prosecutors, not just in cases with the death penalty, but in cases more broadly, where they go back and they say, we don't want to stand by a wrongful conviction. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but I have tremendous faith and hope that the right thing can happen here if the people's eyes are open and if the pressure is put upon the decision makers. And there are ways that can happen. There is not, I'm not of the same belief that things are hopeless. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I know there are many people who are feeling that you know what, it's over. Why do we even try? There is an opportunity for justice. There is a structure for justice. There is a system that enables justice to happen. And we, the people, and the public need to pull the levers so that is what happens.
Oh, I am not hopeless about it at all. And the reason I do these stories, and we used to do them at the Artist, formerly known as MSNBC, is that there is always hope, and sometimes the light of day, and people knowing about it, and more people knowing about it, not just in your state, can force people into action. And you guys are appealing to the Governor Bill Lee, who is a bad guy when it comes to Black voting rights. But here's an opportunity for him to do the right thing. And to do the right thing at a time when he is under a huge spotlight. And so I think pressuring the governor, and if we can have the producers really quickly drum up what the phone number is for people to call the Governor Bill Lee, and Wanjira, if you can just quickly scramble that, I think that would be good. But also, is there any possibility, given that this is a state case, can the Supreme Court intervene? Not that, at least 3 of them are decent human beings. Is there any chance that the Supreme Court can intervene for him?
Well, we're pushing both in state court and in federal court. And so, anything that is in federal court is something that is, throughout the entire system. So yes, that's absolutely something that if a case is teed up the right way and the procedures fall into the right place, that's absolutely something that can happen. But one more thing I want to note about the people's power, in addition to calling the governor, and the number is 615-412-3133. In addition to calling the governor's office and making one's voices heard, people can sign the ACLU petition, which is on aclu.org, calling for Governor Lee to stop the execution and to test the evidence. And remember this, we all have a platform that we can use. We have the people that we know that we speak to, the folks that we can call. We can get online and post about it. We can go and talk about it at our churches and in our synagogues and in all of our places of worship. And we can demand that the courts deliver justice instead of dodging the truth. One thing that I appreciate so much about your conversation here is what you're talking about is really a call to the people to hold their lawmakers accountable. And that's the power that we have. We have that in our Constitution itself. It is what it really demands, is that the people arm ourselves with it. And that's what needs to happen here.
I 100% agree. Thank you for fighting for him. How is Mr. Carruthers' spirit? How is his family?
Well, I have to tell you, I can't imagine what it must be like to face an execution date that is less than 2 weeks away, or to spend 30 years on death row while continuing to proclaim one's innocence. But I can tell you that he and his family are holding on, and they know that there are many people who are fighting for him in these final moments. He was very, very close to his mother, who has since passed away. And he told one of the lawyers on the team today that he believes her angels are watching over him and that he still has all the faith he needs.
Tell us something about Mr. Carruthers as a person. He has such a happy smile. What a lovely smile. But tell us something about him that we should know.
Well, I think what we should know is the thing that's so important for us to know about any time you have a person whose not just liberty, but life is on the line, is that they were somebody's child. They're somebody's brother, somebody's member of their community. Mr. Tony Carruthers is someone who deserves to have his humanity as much a part of the equation as anything else. And that is something that we are asking for people to care about on its face alone. He is a person in this world who deserves justice. He is a person in our country who deserves justice.
Yes, indeed. And last question to you, is there any support from the family of the victims for at least a second trial, or at least an opportunity? Has the family weighed in at all?
Well, there were multiple victims and there's multiple family members, and we know that it is a very complex and challenging thing for anyone to be able to reckon with. But when you look across this movement for Mr. Carruthers and you look at just all of the people who have been victims of other crimes in other contexts who have said, not on my name, not on this time, I think that what we can say is there's tremendous support for Mr. Carruthers and for justice.
Yasmin Cader, thank you for all that you do. We put the number up on, again, you can call Governor Bill Lee at 412-3133. Give the ACLU website again. I think the ACLU deserves so much support. Look, if there's one thing y'all are looking, you should be donating to a lot of these organizations. The ACLU does God's work when it comes to defending immigrants, defending people who are on death row, defending people for free speech. The ACLU just does such God's work. Please tell us how we can support.
Well, again, at aclu.org, there's plenty of opportunities for you to support. And we also have affiliates in every state. So we, join up and link arms and let's go and bring this country forward together.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Yasmin Cader.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
We're going to stay updated on this case. We're going to keep you guys posted because we're not letting this go. And the governor of Tennessee is at this moment doing absolutely nil for Black people in his state. He does not seem to care whether they can vote, whether they can choose the representatives of their choice. He is joining with his political party to strip them of their one sole lone district. But here's an opportunity for Bill Lee, who I believe claims to be a Christian, to do one good thing and to save a life of an innocent man. This is not a man who is known to be guilty. I'm very anti-death penalty anyway. But the reality is, in this case, there is actual evidence of innocence, actual evidence of innocence. And why would the state of Tennessee want to have the blood of Tony Carruthers on their hands? Why would the governor, putting through this execution, why would he want the blood of Tony Carruthers on his hands? Why would he want that? Why would he want the pain of this family on his hands? In addition to the 3 people who were killed, it would just be a 4th person murdered effectively in the same crime.
At least retry the evidence and make
100%.
sure, at least, retry the evidence. I'd give him why can't it could take about a month, right?
Give him his day in court. And
exactly.
With the full scientific evidence on the table, not giving the prosecutor the unneeded advantage of a confession by a paid informant, which is questionable, no DNA evidence, no actual evidence that the man did it. They're going all of this on the word of a paid informant that's getting something for saying that he did it, even when one of the co-conspirators in the actual crime says he didn't do it. He had nothing to do with it. So this is a challenge to Governor Lee. This is a big challenge to him, that this is something that he ought to do and that he can do, because this man, there is evidence that he is actually factually innocent. And prosecutors lied to the jury and claimed that these 3 innocent victims, these poor men, were buried alive. That's not even true. And they said that in order to get the jury, many of whom now regret their decision to vote to kill Tony Carruthers. And now all of this information comes out, as it always does. The Innocence Project does a lot of this great work as well, where you find out that not only was the case flawed, but the person probably didn't do it at all. And now it is up to the governor of the state of Tennessee, which is the bad news, because that is not a state that exactly values Black lives, But he can be made to do it in public. Whatever Governor Lee is going to do, he needs to do it in the light of day. He should not be able to scurry off into the background and put this man to death, because it will be on your hands. His blood will be on your hands, Governor.
Well, I think the least everybody can do that's listening is at least, go to the ALCU's website and put something.
Call the governor.
Yeah, if his DNA wasn't there, doesn't he deserve at least a chance?
Yeah, people are talking about Troy Davis. We covered the Troy Davis execution. That when he was innocent. This was a very likely innocent man, and this country kills innocent people all the time. Unfortunately, it is a thing that we do. We're one of the last Western nations, the developed nations, to use the death penalty at all. We're there with Iran and other countries that we consider to be not first world that do the death penalty. And the United States is in that ignominious group of countries that kill people, that have the state murder people. That is something we do here uniquely in the West. Most Western countries have put aside that barbaric tradition. We have not. And the fact that we're not even sure some of these people did it. I will never forget the Stinney case, this little boy who was executed. He was just a little kid, Joseph Stinney, I think he was 12. And the state of South Carolina, North Carolina, killed him, claiming that he killed a little girl. And he hadn't done it at all, but he was up. He had to be sat on book because George Stinney, a little black boy who was executed. He was 14 years old. He was convicted during an unfair trial of the murders of 2 white girls. And it was in South Carolina in 1929, the year my mother was born, 1929. And back when I was managing editor of the Griot, we interviewed his brother who survived him, who was his older brother, who was deeply depressed from then on as a little kid, not being able to do anything about his brother. The whole family had to flee South Carolina because they were being threatened with lynching.
Remember the electrode thing going to fit on the little boy's head. I mean,
he was so small that he had to be sat on books, and I had nightmares about this case for a year. You see his sweet little face, and he's a little boy, and they executed him in the state of South Carolina. And so you can't always stop the horrible things. Okay. But we can try to stop this one. I believe that we let's see that we have some breaking news. Let me get to that quick breaking news before I get to our guest. The Supreme Court has lifted the mandate for Alabama to use a U.S. House map with 2 majority black districts, meaning the Supreme Court has said that, let me just read the AP story. The Supreme Court is basically allowing the state of Alabama to rewrite its districts to deprive African Americans in that state of a second district. The United States Supreme Court, this is the AP on Monday, set the stage for Alabama to get rid of one of 2 black congressional districts before this year's midterm elections, creating an opening for Republicans to gain an additional U.S. House seat in a partisan battle for control of the closely divided chamber. The decision follows a Supreme Court ruling in April that struck down a majority black U.S. House district in Louisiana as unconstitutional racial gerrymander, significantly weakening a provision of the Federal Voting Rights Act. No, not significantly weakening, killing the Voting Rights Act. They cut the guts out of it. The skin is hanging limp on in a tree, but they lynched the Voting Rights Act. It's gone. Alabama officials had pointed to the Louisiana case as a reason for the Supreme Court to end the judicial order to use a court-imposed House map until after the 2030 census. The High Court overturned that order and directed a lower court to reconsider the case in light of the Louisiana decision. That could free the state to instead use a map approved in 2023 by the Republican-led legislature that includes only 1 district where black residents constitute a majority. Anticipating a court reversal, Alabama officials, we told you about this at the top of the show, so we're coming full circle. Anticipating a court reversal, Alabama officials recently enacted a law allowing it to void the result of a May 19 primary for some congressional district and instead hold a new primary under revised district boundaries. It's up to Republican Governor Kay Ivey, who's 177 years old and apparently participated in the Civil War, to set a date for a special primary election, though it must occur by August. So if you voted in the state of Alabama, your votes were just wiped off the map by the Supreme Court. In a dissent to Monday's brief ruling, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said the Louisiana case had reserved only one of the grounds upon which the Alabama case has been decided. Although the Voting Rights Act violation is gone, Sotomayor said a lower court could still find that Alabama had intentionally discriminated against black voters in violation of the 14th Amendment. The decision was a setback for black residents and groups that had waged a legal fight for several years to get a second Alabama congressional district where black voters had an opportunity to elect a person of their choosing. I will note that Alabama is 27% black, nearly a third black, but all 27% of the state, which live in what you call the Black Belt, they're very concentrated. And they only had 1 Congress member like Mississippi, which is 33% black. And so what Alabama had done is they said, all y'all Negroes get 1 congressman. All the Negroes get 1. And the people in that state said, no, we should have 2. If we just go by the math, we should have 2. And they actually won that case. And the Supreme Court said, no, you didn't. The Supreme Court said, you thought you won, but we know better. John Crow, fully in effect in the great state of Alabama, in addition to everywhere else. So there you are. Boom and boom and boom. Yes, Georgia. Well, we don't know if Georgia is next. To go to the chat here. What is this? The Golden Lion 088 says Georgia is next. Maybe not, because maybe Brian Kemp will do it. But Brian Kemp knows there is literally a primary election coming up within the next 2 weeks. I showed you guys the map earlier. If he does it, if Brian Kemp decides to do this in Georgia, I promise you the next governor of Georgia will be a Democrat, because you're going to make those black people so 38 hot that you're going to trigger voter turnout in a state where Black people actually do turn out. This isn't Louisiana where Black folks, for whatever reason, don't vote. They don't come out. They come out in Georgia. They come out in Georgia in full force. So go ahead and make Keisha Lance Bottoms the next governor of Georgia. Brian, we welcome you. Welcome to the party. You want Keisha Lance Bottoms to be your governor? Go ahead and play with them districts, because you can't gerrymander a statewide race. You can't gerrymander a statewide race. And I will also say this to Kay Ivey. There are some good candidates running for governor of Alabama. Doug Jones used to be the senator from Alabama. That means Democrats can win statewide in that state if they're mad enough. You can win statewide in Alabama if you're mad enough, because they did it before. Doug Jones won statewide in Alabama. So go ahead, play with Alabama, because what you're going to do is rouse the anger and the rage of that 27%. Then if they decide they're going to come out at 70 or 80% turnout, now you got a problem holding on to the state. You can't gerrymander a whole state. You can only gerrymander a district, not a state. But y'all let them gerrymander that state and don't come out and vote. This is what they're going to do to you. They want MAGA to control even your school board. You can't even choose what books you read. You have no control of your lives. So if you're mad about it, get mad. I will note that Alabama is the state where on Saturday, there's going to be a major activation. Go to allroadsleadtothesouth.com. Allroadsleadtothesouth.com. Go on there and you can register to be in Montgomery. Now you have a real reason to go. You have a triple, double, quadruple reason to go. Now, you know, Clarence Thomas was just sitting back there like, I'm not Black, I'm Clarence. All right, let's turn. We didn't take a hard turn. We had to uplift ourselves over on this Mother's Day weekend, this past Mother's Day weekend. Jason and I had the pleasure of being in Atlantic City, New Jersey, one of the good blue states that lets Black people vote and have members of Congress, along with our producer, Nitha Khan, who was also with us for an epic 90s concert featuring supergroups Jodeci, Escape, and this brother right here. Play the tape. Make the promise of the. Y'all know the song. Y'all know the song. I can't play it because, you know, YouTube don't let us play music. We had to play just a teeny bit so that you guys can say, yes, that is the Kenny Latimore, Grammy Award-nominated artist with a career spanning 2 decades and an inductee of the National R&B Hall of Fame. You can look for behind the scenes pics on my social media. I'm going to post them there where I'm actually allowed to put music on. He's got some, my terrible camera work there. Don't blame me for that. It's my iPhone. And he's got some wonderful news to share. And he joins me now. Hey, Kenny.
Hey, how are you doing? Oh my gosh. It is so fantastic to just be in your presence. Number one, I thank you so much for being you, for how you represent our community and our world, because oh gosh, it's so important, just letting you know that I'm tuning in, I'm listening to the things that you're talking about that are affecting our world, and particularly our what was democracy. And but thank you. I know this is a lighter moment that we're going to get into.
We need it. We need it. Well, not all the way light, because I do have to. Before we get to the good news, you have some wonderful news to share, and it was wonderful to get a chance to actually meet you. This is favor ain't fair. Like they say, favor ain't fair. We were going to go to the concert anyway, but I got a chance to meet you to chat with you a little bit, and so you shared your news with me. But before we get to that, I want to show this clip. It's not a clip, but it's a still of the fact that you not long ago were performing at the Kennedy Center for the performing arts.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
And how about we were tributing Marvin Gaye, Duke Ellington, some of the great African American performers from the DC area.
Yes.
And everything flipped. Like it felt like weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
The Kennedy Center was no longer a desirable place to perform. A lot of people were so disappointed. And I could see people making that exit. They were like, we are out of here. But the memorial, what the Kennedy Center had done through the years, I think was so important. And it was very unifying. And I'm from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So, being a native Washingtonian and to see some of the changes that are taking place, it is like we're in a Twilight Zone movie or television show. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. It's hard, and the arts, they feel even more important in a moment like this, right? I mean, some of our
Absolutely.
subversion, right? That it's subversive to be an artist, and
Yeah.
you see, but you see a lot of musical artists, at the Met Gala as if nothing's happening, chilling with Jeff Bezos like nothing's happening. Is there
Yeah.
a divide among artists about whether, but not even about being political, but whether you should be outspoken?
I think there is, for various reasons. I think some people feel like their career has reached a certain plateau where they're not held with the same responsibility as others. In particular, one of them in the R&B world, one of the tragedies that we saw, and this is a good conversation because I've been thinking about this. Chrisette Michele, who
Mm.
is a wonderful R&B singer, was a part of, she literally sang one song as a part of the inauguration of Donald Trump the first time with a guy named Travis Green, who's in the gospel
Mhm.
industry. She wasn't the star, the head, the whatever, like we see Snoop Dogg or Nelly or, some of the
Mhm.
others that have been like, hey, no problem. Maybe maybe it's because they're so mainstream that they feel like we can't be touched
Yeah.
in this particular time in our career. But then you have a Chrisette who was blackballed, and I hate it because it's a beautiful Black woman, an amazing talent. Her counterparts, the person that she went on stage with, went on to win the Grammy. They went on. Everybody survived whatever, or went on like nothing happened. But this Black woman was left to bear everything, like to bear the weight of you sang at that inauguration, and she was made an example of. Okay, fine. Okay, all of that happened, and time has gone on, but the inequities that take place in the entertainment industry, I think, are about, is my brand big enough to survive it? And she was still in an up and coming and vulnerable place, and it really tarnished her brand. So you have some people that are going to feel a fear about that. Oh, if I say something political, I don't know if I'm on the right side of it. Whether it's the Republican side or the Democratic side, we know that Black America, we're forgiving though. As as a
Mostly.
culture,
Yeah.
we're very forgiving,
Mhm.
but I think there's still, and through time, like, because I listened to her story and I was like, wow, her story. She wasn't a Trump supporter necessarily. That wasn't the issue for her. She was just trying to sing, and she
Mhm.
thought that her gift would be unifying. So we as artists are thinking, hey, we're the ones that can come in and sing and bring people together and all of that. So we're kind of hoping that our gifts reach beyond the political barriers. But then there are times when you got to pick a side.
You gotta
You
pick a
got to
side.
pick a side.
You gotta pick a side. I mean,
And
the reality is like Snoop and those guys, he's lost a lot of followers or whatever, but he's still got TV deals and all sorts of things. To your point, the wealthier ones, they can sort of survive it even
so
if they
the
lose
consequence is not
followers.
the same.
Yeah, and Nicki Minaj, look, I mean, I don't know what she's doing, but she's getting rewarded so much by Trump that I think she doesn't care. You're right.
Yeah.
People are just
I think that
deciding what
later
they
on
want.
something's going to happen where they're going to feel the understanding that because you have money and all of that, sometimes there are people who say, "Oh, you're not Black." I'll just say it that way.
Mhm.
Oh, you're not like them.
Mhm.
And but that still is not the end all. I think that there's at some point you have to deal with the reality that when you walk in the room, you are allowed in for just a transaction.
That's right.
And if you were allowed in for a transaction, that's a tough place to be, and to be have so much bravado and shout out for something because you think it's about money. But gosh, money is so like small and it's just nothing. We can always make money, people. We are the creators of this culture. We are the creators of this music and the fashion and all of that. We can always make money.
Mm.
And then we're the greatest consumers according to research. So
Mhm.
so money's out there. We've got to start thinking about the dignity of us as a people and who we are. We really,
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah. As one of our commenters just said, all money ain't good money. Well, I can tell you what is
All
good money.
money ain't good money.
Ain't good money, right? Well, going to see you is
Yeah.
good money, my brother. You are always so
Thank
brilliant.
you.
Your voice is just perfection. It was such a fun concert. But you shared that your lovely wife. There she is. Oh, look at that beautiful picture. you have some news. You and the
Yes, our
good
breaking
judge.
news. This is my first podcast, live interview, television interview, whatever you in any consideration, that we are having our baby number 2. And we
Ooh.
are so excited. And we waited. There was so much going on in the world too that, you know, we wanted to celebrate, like, and with our first child, our daughter, we celebrated from the moment we knew that she was coming, and it was all the way through. But, you know, we're finding out also that the internet and social media is not always kind, even when you have children,
Mhm.
even when you have great things that happen to you. So many people are unhappy and triggered by other people's happiness. That's
Yeah.
a whole different story
Yeah.
that's led us down a road where we have a lawsuit against YouTube right now, and we have a very major publication, newspaper that's going to be interviewing us. Probably by July, you're going to see some things, because we're fighting for legislation in that whole social media world, particularly at YouTube, where people that are foreign perpetrators of information can be held accountable, because we have been investigating this phenomenon of Black slander, particularly of our pastors
Listen.
and public figures who are positive in our community. And I guess it's shocking. People click, 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 click. If you say that somebody that we know is a tremendously reputable person has something smear something negative on them, we click, 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 which we have to stop doing that.
That's right.
But we had a situation where YouTube, there were so many reports that she and I were divorcing. Okay, this is in the middle of us having this baby and everything, that we were divorcing, and that we were having these arguments, all kinds of things being fabricated online. And all of a sudden, Google started a report that it was true, citing these sites. So it was a very interesting time for us, where we were like, you know what, let's just be quiet and live in our own happiness and the goodness of what is really happening. And this baby is coming like any day now. So I didn't think we could keep it a secret. but
You
but
can't
we
keep any
did, you know.
secret from your fans, but I
Faith
mean,
was like, yes, we can do it.
we love Judge Faith, by the way. And look, the reality is that you're hitting on something that, you know, Jason and I go through this too. There are whole mini documentaries about us that are like 90% untrue, and people are like sending it to me that know me and are like, oh my God, they did a tour of your house. It's like, that's not my house, baby. Like, I don't know who that is. They're saying all kinds of lies, and that is the thing, is it's so unregulated, right?
Yes.
That people can make up anything, and then they earn money from the clickbait of it.
That is it. And we want to regulate that some kind of way, where at the very least, if it could be labeled AI, we have these men who are using women's voices in AI to tell these. It's really like the wild, not even the wild west, the wild world out there. The whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. But I want people to remember, and Faith and I have just really tremendously become advocates for this, because people don't think of us as real. They don't think of us as human that are celebrated, rather. Let me make that clear. When people are celebrated, sometimes there are people that have not chosen to be celebrated that become celebrated, and you rise to the occasion to be whatever the best you can in that particular space. I speak at Howard University's, there's a psychology and fine arts class. Wonderful professor James Ballard, who allows me to come in and give perspective to what it's like being a celebrity. And I try to teach and talk about these things with the kids now, because so many of them still desire fame, and they what they think it is. And I try to go in and speak to them about what it truly is, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that they can make a decision, a better decision. And then I focus on passion and making sure that what they do is they don't forget why they fell in love with certain aspects of the arts, certain aspects of, whether it's dance or music or what have you, and know that it's broader than you just becoming a big star, because you become a target for so many different things that if you're not mentally prepared for, we've seen people take their lives. We've seen beauty queens who are smart, beautiful, gorgeous and take their lives because people are trolling them. I mean, it's like really an insane atmosphere
It
to
is.
thrive
It is. Well, you have explained one more reason why we have to vote, because in order to get good legislation through, we have to have decent people elected who actually care about the people.
Wow.
So this is just
Absolutely.
yet another reason why we all need to register and vote and make sure that we're putting not grifters, but decent human beings into Congress and in our state houses to pass these laws that we need. Before I let you go, good brother, when did we get some more music that we need? You need, you got a baby coming out, you got a lot going on, but I know you might have some music coming out that might be of the baby friendly variety. Please tell us more, say more.
Thank you. I have Faith and I, when we were thinking, oh gosh, we're about to announce this baby. And a couple of weeks prior to us doing that, Faith was saying, you know what, you should do a lullaby album, like some of the songs that you sing to Skylar. And I'm always making up a song around the house. I don't care what it is. If we're going to the store, I get Skylar together. We're going to the store now. We're going to. It doesn't matter. I just make up something for her, and she gets a kick out of it. So there is For You, the lullaby albums. There's a version of my song For You. There's a version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which I'm singing in English, Chinese, and in Spanish.
Okay.
There's, just stuff because that's another thing that's authentic to our house. Our daughter is in a bilingual school, so that teaches her languages, and then we started with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which I thought was beautiful and appropriate. Just something that is soothing, again, bringing some positivity. But when you think about your child and the peace that you want them to have, and home, and all the things that are just good, sometimes you need that music soundtrack to go along with it. And so the Lullaby album is available for pre-save now. And if you want to hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow, go to kennylatimore.com. Or go to at Kenny Latimore, my Instagram page, and all that. You'll see links and things about it. We just felt that we wanted to give something during this time of us sharing and experiencing this great news.
I love it. Well, I would ask you for 2 or 3 bars, but I want people to go to the website. You want to give us a bar.
Yeah,
Give us
you
one
can go
line.
and do that, and you'll hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. I get to sing nice and soft to the bed. Oh, it's so incredible for me.
Though, Kenny Latimore, can I just keep it real with you? That baby not going to sleep. The baby gonna stay awake to hear that entire song. The baby's gonna be like, my dad is singing a hit, and I want to hear it to the very end. The baby gonna be awake all night, and so will you. You're never getting.
Well, you know what we did? Okay. That's so funny that you say that. Okay, then that gives me an opening. Then we have the instrumental that goes on and on, because when you think of lullabies, you don't want it to just be the song and the song go off and the atmosphere changes and all that. So the song goes on, and then we have the instrumentals and things too that go on. So
that's what I like about
I appreciate that.
The comment. If the story was too good, I'm awake. I'm like, I gotta hear the end of this, and then I'm awake. So you're gonna have to have like 18 minutes of song after you stop singing, so that the baby will actually like, all right, fine, I give up. I go to sleep. I give up. Kenny Latimore, you're terrific. Please tell Judge Faith, we love you. She's getting so much love in the chat. We love you both. You guys are both fantastic, awesome, fabulous, gorgeous. And we just know that baby is going to be too. God bless you and your family. Good friend.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Yes.
And thank you again for all that you do. Thank you. Being our voice and educating us. Yes.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Oh, that was so much fun. Kenny Latimore, everybody. Please, a round of applause, Jason. A round of applause. Great. I didn't think he was going to give us any song. He gave us a little song. I'm like, verklempt. That was bad. Oh, his voice is butter. It's like butter.
I kind of figured you was going to go there,
I just need a tiny little song, just a little bit, like butter. I'm telling you, that voice is something else, man. All right, y'all. See how we lifted you up? Now you want to do scaring is caring. We're going to terrify you about the new pandemic. We're going to get you angry about the voting rights being snatched away and Alabama becoming back to Jim Crow, but now it's John Crow. Y'all know that's the new lingo. It's John Crow, because John Crow Roberts created it. Then we're going to just really make you feel sad and also outraged about them attempting to put to death this innocent man in the state of Tennessee. But then we're going to bring you back at the end. We're always going to bring you back. Soror Karen Stoops said, we appreciate you keeping us informed, all caps. We're going to bring you back at the end, lift you back up. And not only are we going to give you the great Kenny Latimore, who's such a great guy, such a nice guy. He was just so warm and friendly to us when we met with him backstage at the concert. But now we're going to end with our moment of joy, because the joy has to continue. And our moment of joy on tonight is by Glow Plus Emmy Rollum.
The quick message: if you want to fight me, you got to go through my dog first.
I'm sorry, I meant Geo plus Emmy. I can't read. Reading is fundamental. Geo plus Emmy. Emmy said, no, you don't. Geo said, if you want to fight me, you got to go through my dog first. And Emmy said, who am I fighting? Oh, you think I'm going to fight somebody for you? No, I'm not. The dog looked at him like,
you see these bones? Do you see any muscles on his body?
I'm a leisure dog.
I'm
what
a
you
leisure
talking
dog.
about? I'm a lover, not a fighter. Right. Look what you're talking about. First of all, where's my snacks?
Exactly. Go get my food, human.
He said, the dog said.
How dare you put me on
I
the
looked
spot.
around like, which dog gonna fight for you? Is there another dog in here? You didn't tell me back. Where the other dog at? Because I know you ain't talking about me. He said, where the other
You
dog
gonna
at?
take me out this comfortable bed to start some crap. I'll go out in the streets. They're gonna be thinking I'm, hard.
Fight who? Excuse me, what? Oh, you thought it was a guard dog. I'm a leisure dog, darling. I don't fight. I fight hunger by having a snack. I fight boredom by barking on the occasion. That's it. I'm a leisurely dog. I don't fight. Fighting is for birds. Do I look like a bird? No. Oh, no. Absolutely not. All right. But once again, the Webby, I want you all to be the witnesses to the existence of this cookie, fully in plastic, completely whole and unbitten, so that if you see it again and somebody ate it, you know what kind of games are afoot.
That would be the person that is holding a Webby in her hand. Yeah. No, that would be down. Like, see right there. That person right there.
If it goes missing,
that one right there.
The person that consumed it is on your screen. It's gonna be joy.
Should we play real quickly before we go our acceptance speech?
Please play in case you all missed the acceptance speech at the front. The Emmys have the Webbies happened without us tonight. There was a red carpet. But I said, you know what? We got to do the show. We had to come and do our work. We weren't going to skip being with you guys in order to be at the Emmys, but we appreciate the Emmys, the Webbies. We love being a Webby winner, a Webby Award-winning podcast. Best new podcast in the news and information category. Very proud of it. The best new podcast category. Very meaningful, because it means that the people who are looking at all the new podcasts that are out, that came out last year, looked at ours and said, when it comes to informing you, giving you news information, and being a community resource for information, history, and all the rest, we're the best. We the best. We the best.
I tell you what, June 11th is our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
I'll eat one of those cookies then. Once we get to the year anniversary.
Yeah, if they last that long, they're gonna be.
Well,
gone.
I will be taking one and putting it aside so you can
look. Somebody already reaching. You see it? Do you see the hand already reaching in? You see?
And there goes a person who eats the marsh bars, y'all. At least one of them.
Look at the hand. A ghostly hand already came in. Let's slap the hand.
See, there we
see
go.
how I live? All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I ain't never gonna taste no Webby cookie. See y'all tomorrow. On Wednesday. Dang it. Bye.
Bye, fam.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees that I'm hard to detect. Like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick. And I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it. They rather party, so I'm a real talk about it. For sure.